Ninth Story Studios, giving story a voice.
This is Addison Peacock, and you're listening to The Wicked Library.
Warning. The Wicked Library is a horror fiction podcast created for a mature audience. Our stories contain graphic descriptions of pain, murder, violence, blood, betrayal, and inhumanity. Monsters win, people die, and hope is often shattered. There is also beauty, heart, catharsis, and raw emotion. Fear may be deeply personal, but we all share it. If at any time a story takes you to a place too dark, turn on the lights, press pause, or press stop. And always remember that, unlike in the real world, these nightmares and your participation in them are under your control. Welcome back to the Wicked Library. I'm Daniel Foytik, and I thank you for listening. A sincere thank you to those of you who are supporting the show on Patreon. Without you, this show would not be possible. Today's tale is the second special mini-episode for Christmas. Longer tales are coming, but I always like to have fun with Christmas-themed stories this time of year. It's an opportunity to re-examine classic tales under a new lens. As with the last little Christmas offering about a certain snowman with an eldritch slant, you'll taste a bit of Lovecraft in these stories. I wrote all three tales as a Yuletide gift for dear friends Stephen and Belle. Without you two supporting me through some very challenging times, I don't know that I'd be saddling back up to ride this particular nightmare. Your friendship, love, and support mean the world to me. And it's the biggest reason that I've come back out of my extended hiatus to make this show again. So, bundle up, gather round, and grab a cup of hot cocoa, eggnog, or something a little stronger. And now, from the deep dark woods of ancient Appalachia, comes the lure of the star, followed by a visit from Yulthar'Niklas, both by me, writing and performing as Damos Vrynn, the talebearer of Unseen Worlds. The Lure of the Star. In the shifting realms throughout time and space, like desert dunes that shift to hide forgotten truths, there is a tale ancient and eternal. It is a story of three travelers, men of learning and influence, drawn by the lure of a star, or what they believed to be a star. Their journey has been chronicled in fragmentary texts and whispered in hushed tones throughout the countless realities of the multiverse. It speaks of a moment when the fragile skein of reality trembled, poised to unravel entirely. The men, hailed by their peoples as wizards and sages, came bearing gifts, gold, frankincense, and myrrh. But these were not the tokens of mere homage. Rather, these offerings were weapons of metaphysical purpose, meant to bind a nascent force that threatened to upend the delicate balance of reality. For the child to whom they traveled, the supposed Messiah was no simple savior. It was a gateway, a nexus where warring cosmic forces converged, vying for dominion over creation. In darkness and in daylight, the travelers followed the star that burned unnaturally bright, so bright that it appeared in daylight. It was a light too steady, too perfect, a beacon that pierced the heavens with an almost malevolent precision. Yet, even as they journeyed, doubts gnawed at their souls, for the air was thick with unseen watchers. The shadows cast by their caravan twisted unnaturally, as if reluctant to obey the sun. When, at last, they reached the humble structure where the child lay swaddled, they beheld not the serene visage of innocence, but a countenance that seemed to shift and shimmer, as though the infant wore a mask of flesh over something vast and unfathomable. Its eyes, if they could be called such, gleamed with an ancient hunger, a void that devoured light and exuded a coldness that seeped into the marrow of their bones. The first of the kings approached, presenting gold, a symbol of power meant to anchor the child's essence to the mortal plane. The second offered frankincense, its sacred smoke intended to cloud the perception of the dark forces circling the gateway. Finally, the third laid down myrrh, a resin of death and preservation, meant to seal the darkness within a chrysalis of time. But as they performed their rites, a tremor rippled through the ether. The guiding star above flickered, its light momentarily eclipsed by an amorphous shadow that writhed and pulsed like a living thing. Too late, they realized their folly. The star they had followed was no divine herald, but the craft of a trickster, an ancient god whose whims transcend mortal comprehension. In its cool jest, it had set the guiding light askew, leading them astray and leaving their gifts impotent against the growing darkness. The child's form began to shift, its human guise melting away to reveal a churning mass of black ichor, studded with 70 of unblinking eyes and 100 mouths that whispered unspeakable truths. The travelers recoiled, their minds fracturing under the weight of the horror before them. And as the darkness unfurled, it consumed hope itself, spreading oily slick across the fabric of existence. Nations fell silent, their people rendered hollow and despairing. The very concept of dawn was a distant memory. For Yeshua Alatoth, weaver of eternal despair, the false lamb of 10,000 shadows, the great devourer, had come, and with it, the extinguishing of all light. But just as the abyss prepared to engulf all, a piercing light tore through the heavens. It was a star exploding, a supernova whose light had traveled for eons uncountable to appear here in the sky at that crucial moment. A burst of profound, radiant purpose. The trickster's illusion was shadowed, and the true guiding star revealed itself, burning with a brilliance that no shadow could quench. The three kings, though battered and broken, rose anew, their faith restored. Retrieving their gifts, they approached the child once more, now bathed in the sanctity of the true light. This time, their offerings took on their rightful power. The gold shone with a purity that anchored the light within the child. The frankincense's smoke enveloped the darkness, driving it back into the recesses of the infant's form. The myrrh sealed the gateway, not as a prison, but as a chrysalis, allowing the light to emerge triumphant. The child's visage softened, and the eyes that had once gleamed with hunger now shone with a profound, and tranquil understanding. Arrived was Yulthar'Niklas, herald of the eternal light, the radiant redeemer beyond the veil, the golden lamb whose blood stains eternity. Yea then, did all rejoice as one voice, and the chaos was thwarted as all of reality shifted by an angelic angle and became a path striving towards light. As the kings departed, they carried with them the weight of what they had witnessed. They knew the battle was not won, but delayed, for time and space are treacherous waters, and the trickster's hand would rise again. Indeed, the cosmos itself replays this moment endlessly, a perpetual chessboard where light and dark vie for supremacy. Sometimes, the sages find their way. Sometimes, they do not. And each time, the story resets, the stars realign, and the eternal game continues. I tell you this not to instill fear, but to awaken you to the fragility of our existence. The sands of time and reality are ever shifting, and guiding stars are not always what they seem. Vigilance is our only shield, and faith our only weapon. For, in the end, it is not the stars that guide us, but the choices we make in the face of the unknown. Remember well this tale, and continue in your vigil against chaos as you celebrate the tithing of the starry frost and the unveiling of the frost-born gods. As you gather for the feast of the silent choir, ensure that your doors are properly adorned with the blood-bound wreath of the green eternals, and settle in with those you love and must protect on the night of the longest vigil. A Visit from Yulthar'Niklas. 'Twas the night before Christmas, when all through the keep not a creature was stirring, all cowered in sleep. The stockings hung ragged, torn as if by a claw, a warning of horrors my mind barely saw. The children lay trembling, not snug in their beds, but haunted by nightmares of a figure in red. And I, with my lantern, its flicker so pale, kept watch by the window, recounting the tale. He comes not with laughter nor joy in his stride, but a sleigh made of bones, with dark beasts to guide. His eyes, how they glimmer, like embers in ash, his beard streaked with crimson, his visage a gash. His fingers are gnarled, his nails razor thin, and the sack on his back writhes with horrors within. No toys does he carry, no gifts does he bring, only sorrow and whispers of despair that will sting. With a crack of the whip and a guttural cheer, he lands on the rooftop, his purpose clear. Down the chimney he slides with a sinister grin, his laughter like thunder, a cacophony of sin. Through the parlor he crept with a terrible glee, erecting in shadow a malevolent tree. Its branches were jagged, its needles like blades, decked with ornaments wrought from the freshly decayed. Instead of a star, atop its dark crown, a skull sat grinning, its sockets burnt brown. From his sack he withdrew things wrapped tight, but each bore a curse, a harbinger of fright. A doll with no eyes, its face carved with care. A music box playing a tune of despair. He slithered through chambers, a specter of dread, stealing the dreams of the sleeping in bed. Like wisps of pale smoke, they coiled in his grasp, then faded to nothing with one guttural gasp. His dark leather boots, slick with a sinister sheen, were stitched from the hides of the damned and unclean. Each step left a mark, not of soot or of grime, but echoes of wails from a far, darker time. He moved to the hearth where the stockings were hung, and from each he withdrew the dreams of the young. When his grim work was done, he rose with a roar like fire, with a whiff of brimstone and gore. Through the moon's pallid glow, his sleigh took to the skies, a streak of dark fire where starlight now dies. And though he was gone, his presence was singed, a scar on the world that could never be cleansed.
Merry Christmas to all,
he cackled with spite.
And to all, a dread-filled night.
Thank you for listening to today's bonus episode. Today's author and storyteller was Daniel Foytik, performing as Damos Vrynn. To find out more about the Wicked Library and other Ninth Story Studios shows, visit thewickedlibrary.com and ninthstory.com. If you'd like to hear your own story on the Wicked Library, submissions are open for Season 13. Check out our website for more details on requirements. To help keep this collection of dark tales coming, please support the Wicked Library on Patreon at patreon.com/Wicked Library. You can also help by leaving a 5-star rating and short review on Apple Podcasts. The Wicked Library is created by Ninth Story Studios, LLC, all rights reserved.